Couch Co-op 2024 is here, boys.
Woo.
It's here. I never really believe it.
This
and then it's upon us.
I was just at Kenny's house setting up a chair.
You went all the way there to
chair.
set up a chair.
He brought over the really uncomfortable chair that Dustin's going to sit in and that I'm sitting in right now.
Well, thank you for reserving that, especially for me, because I'll be sitting on that from Tuesday of this week through Friday of this week, where we're going to be creating tons of retro gaming content, live streaming multiple times every single day, hanging out with our patrons exclusively.
Kissing
Other people.
each other.
The games that we like the most. Mwah.
One of the coolest things that's happening this week, and you can actually go and fact check us now, is that for free, you can join us on Patreon.
That's big. We did it last year, and everyone loved it. We had a lot of people try it for the first time because it is also the summer pool party happening right now. We talked about that last week. And
that's double value.
You, for free, can join and submit at the $5 level some games for the Patreon pool.
And we are doing this summer pool party all throughout the summer. So June and July, every other week, you can be a part of that special pool where you submit games. And hopefully we'll get a much better selection of games than we've been playing on the podcast recently.
Okay, hater.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
It's your boy.
And this is episode 431, and it is a Patreon pool!
Patreon pool.
This is officially the start of our summer pool party.
Sure is. It's my
And-
favorite time of year by far.
Summer?
Pool party.
Pool party.
No, bad. Oh, fine.
But
Summer
also
as your
summer.
favorite time of year is a bad choice.
No,
but
it's also summer.
I think Christmas is
I
the
do too,
most
that's
wonderful
true.
time of the year, but should
That's
we
true.
do something to celebrate then? Maybe. But for now, we are celebrating our summer pool party where every other week through the months of June and July, we are doing Patreon pools where you, our loyal listeners, can become patrons and can submit your games for us to randomly select from rather than a list of thousands of C tier and below games.
Yeah,
We
don't
could
y'all know
potentially
your
Okay, don't-
statistical chance is high. Okay.
vary.
don't be sleeping on the average quality of the games on the Retro Master
Dude, I
list.
stay asleep on this podcast until one good game comes up once a year.
But before we talk about the retro game of the week, I've got a question of the week. What character would you put in Smash and why? With a follow-up question, and what would their signature moveset be?
This is a great question. 10
a good
years
question.
ago, before they put every video game character in Smash.
Well, no, because now it's
It's
harder.
fair.
Like,
It is harder.
there are better answers now. That's true. And I think my answer's pretty good, but Kenny, you go first.
Okay. I am fairly sure, and we didn't limit this.
This
on
guy might
IP
be in
restriction.
Smash.
He's like, I will.
No.
I
I'm
can
pretty
be in it.
sure that a character from this universe has made its way into
Okay,
Smash.
good. They
I'll
usually
confirm.
bring in
But-
multiple universe characters.
Even though I don't
but
know.
not this character. But we are going outside of what you would expect because we're crossing some console genres here. I want to see Tails.
I knew he was going to
In
say
Is
that.
Smash.
Tails not in Smash?
No,
I don't think
Sonic
so.
is, of
I
course.
believe Sonic is.
I bet
but
Tails probably shows up as one of those little, I don't
Trophies
know,
or
little guys or something. Likewise, Knuckles would be cool. I mean, bring in
Knuckles would be cool.
How did we get Steve from Minecraft before Tails and
I
Knuckles?
thought you were gonna say Steve from Blue's Clues. I was like, I've been missing out on
Just
this.
as bad.
Which Blue from Blue's Clues would be a good entry, but that's not my
I don't know if
answer.
that's true,
There
but
are-
Tails
this is
would be great.
Pokemon.
I like the Smash characters that are small and nimble and cute, and I like not being easy to catch. So I'd want his signature to move to just be his helicopter butt, like the thing he does.
That would be his
I'd
B
want him to
up.
fly and be hard to kill.
Yeah, that would be his get back to stage move. B up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nolan.
No, I want it even heavier than that, though. I want it to be like Kirby's float. I want him to just be like chilling out of the action.
Nolan, what is one of your answers?
I always liked the secret characters that were kind of wild cards in Smash. One of the early examples of that for me was Snake from Metal Gear that they put in Brawl. And so along those same lines as his addition, Agent 47 from the Hitman games.
The bald guy.
The bald guy. And one of his moves could be where he kind of Kirby-esque, where he disguises himself as the other enemies, but like he'll put on a pink suit and like a hat and be Kirby, and then he has a Kirby move. And also
That's pretty cool, yeah.
But then like he murders the Pokemon, like he snipes them in the face and assassinates them, and then it's like mission successful.
Pokemon don't die. You know how this works.
They die. I've seen the show.
I've got a couple of answers, but we'll stick to one. And I like every once in a while. I don't like look, I'm not a Smash player, but I enjoy the idea when there are characters that have their own kind of mechanics, not just moves, but mechanic. Like there's something unique about that character.
Yes,
sure.
So I present to you the Knight from Hollow Knight.
I knew you were going to say this. I knew it.
I think he's got a particular gauge, a soul gauge, which he has in the game. Really, you don't have to create a moveset because the Hollow Knight has such a good moveset in the game that I think it would be so transferable. But he's got a soul gauge that you build up over time, and then your special moves are through that gauge. So you can't just use specials all the time. You've got to build up that gauge, and then you can do special moves with it.
I like that answer, and I knew you were going to say it, but it's a good answer because he's like... He would be similar to Meta Knight's moveset because he's got he's small, blade, has a sword,
yeah.
Can I amend my answer?
Yeah.
Okay, I want a turtle to be in the game.
A turtle.
Yeah, you're gonna have to specify because if you're talking about just a green guy with a shell, I don't know.
Yeah,
if you can do that.
Just a turtle. That's all.
Oh, from TMNT?
No,
the show?
No, I just want like an actual turtle to just
He's
like
probably making a joke.
Smash. No, I'm not. Turtles are cute.
You're not allowed to amend your answer anymore. I changed my mind.
He amended his answer, and it certainly is a different perspective. Like in our retro game of the week, Light Crusader.
Overview.
Light Crusader is a Sega Genesis title. It came out in 1995 from the folks at Treasure. This is an action-adventure game. Think sort of Zelda-esque, wherein you, as Sir David Lander...
Terrible.
That's as good as they could do.
I mean, it's okay.
He's
Sir
David? David is your hero? David?
That's a great name.
It's a fine name, not very adventurous. Sir
no.
David?
You want a cool name
Sir
like
David.
Zidane.
Zidane.
Cloud.
Sephiroth.
Okay,
Agent
Sir David, boring McBoring name Lander, is a knight who has been sent to help a kingdom in trouble. Townspeople are going missing, and the only way to save them, besides rearranging all the furniture, is to delve into a mysterious dungeon underneath the castle, save the townspeople, uncover the mystery of what's happening. You will do this with both sword and magic, and you've got to use your wits, your agility, and your strength as you solve puzzles, platform, and fight through hordes of enemies to save the day.
Smells like Diablo.
Honestly,
it kind of has some Diablo-esque things going on.
It's got some PC dungeon diving vibes to this Sega Genesis game.
In look and feel, in a number of different ways, actually.
Music,
it's
almost
kind of
every way.
surprising. Yeah.
We'll Treasure and Sega, where do I sign?
No.
Isometric Adventure, where do I sign? I like the setup of this game. Yes.
Brother, no, on both of those, because look, we've had hits with Treasure, and we've had misses with Treasure.
Wait, what did Treasure miss with so far?
Bengayo's Spirits?
That doesn't count. They did that.
Yes, and
I
you hated it. No, you hate. Oh, did you like it?
You hated it.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
I didn't give it New Game Plus, but I wanted to like it, and I appreciated it, and I kind of hated it. But that doesn't count.
Wait, why would that not count?
It just doesn't, because I appreciate that game.
Yeah, that was a universal no from all of us, by the way.
Yeah.
Also, I hated Mischief Makers.
Oh, you're
that
alone.
Shake?
That's
that.
Shake.
That's Shake Shake. That's a good game.
Now, I appreciated and liked and respected Alien Soldier. That was pretty
Masterpiece.
great. Gunstar Heroes is obviously a classic. Guardian Heroes we played so long ago, so I don't fully
I
remember.
love Guardian Heroes, but that's partly nostalgia. But that one's good, just different.
So I'm agreeing with you that treasure is typically a good sign, but I don't think Bengayo is the only treasure game that we've had that was a flop. I think there's probably some other ones in there, but
Regardless, I'm a Genesis boy, and 95 was like my era for this. But of course, I've never heard of it because I doubt it was marketed towards the little kid Sonic crowd. Like,
no, this is totally different vibe. Honestly, maybe even for a more mature audience. Not that it has mature themes, but it's not.
No,
but that's kind of the
but
Diablo
it's just
thing. I'm talking
shooting
about.
to be. It's not. You can tell it's not like a kid-friendly game in how they go about things. Some of these puzzles I would never have gotten past as a child, and I wasn't a stupid kid. I might have been smarter than I am now.
So is that your fault or theirs?
Look, you compared it. You mentioned Zelda earlier, and that is a lot more kid-friendly, not only in color and vibe, but like in the story that's being told and things like that. This is very honestly, I think this game was created in 95 for the 20 to 30-year-old, or in the 30s even, 20 to 40-year-old, I would say, that was playing at the time D&D with their friends, and then
Absolutely
wanted to...
It was get a piece of the PC nerdier gamer
Home
and
console.
bring them onto the console. Yeah. That's what it feels like to me.
Gameplay.
I hate to do it, but I did have Diablo vibes nearly immediately because in Diablo, you have your little town, and then you go into the church, and then you start going down. That's basically what happened here.
It's a graveyard instead of a church. I mean,
Right.
It's a dungeon directly under the castle that then kind of ties back into the castle, and you sort of have... And so the progression sort of feels Diablo-ish, and because it's isometric view, and you're adventuring and swinging a sword and casting magic, and because they went with this more realistic look, like, pick a reason. There's 4 or 5 different reasons that I'm not going to blame you for saying this reminds you of Diablo.
But there is one thing that you could not do in Diablo that you can in this one, and it's push people around.
Jump.
You can push out. You push near everything around.
It's absolutely absurd. I'm so glad that
great.
Kenny took the time. It was about half of Kenny's first play, but I'm so glad that he pushed literally everybody off of the platform.
That was probably one of the better first play moments.
Yeah.
I love that.
Maybe
time
Kenny
well
should
spent.
always spend an hour in the first play and then cut it down to 10 minutes. And
then cutting it down to whatever, and just do whatever's interesting
Yes.
to me and don't care about actually showing off the game.
I
Because
forgot you said that. How did
I
you
did
have
that too. I didn't. I actually. So you. What did you do? You pushed everybody off, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then
Yeah,
you made a
nobody
tower
was on
with the cat
ledge.
at the top.
Yeah, I pushed them off,
Yeah,
but
dude.
into a tower of people.
So, if you haven't played this game before, one of the quirks is that anytime you walk into somebody, they're on ice or skates, or ice skates. They are moving, and you can push them wherever you want. Can you push someone out of a room?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I don't think
so.
it'll like load.
But like you can even stack them on top of each
but
other if you're pushing them off ledges.
Right, and they do this because
There's a
so
reason?
much of the gameplay is designed around sort of use of your space puzzles.
What does that
But
have to do
don't
with
push
pushing people
NPCs.
around?
No. It doesn't mean you have to make people be pushable.
Right.
Like, you could easily not have your people
If persons
act the
don't
same way
push.
as your barrels and whatever else. But there is sort of this just fundamental, you're going to be interacting with your environment understanding that then applies to everything. And it's silly when you're pushing around the king and, throwing him off a ledge before you've even asked the story of what's going on. But it's because of the kind of interaction they're trying to like get you to do as you do other gameplay sorts of stuff.
And I 2, Dustin was like, oh, Diablo, because of that, what you said, but also the isometric nature of this game. That's like the comparison, especially around this time, would have been Diablo. And Kenny, when you say that the environment takes a really big, comes into play a lot here, that is the opposite of Diablo. It's very unlike Diablo in that sense. There's platforming in this game, which is, we'll talk about it. I'll just briefly say it's very difficult
puzzling
in an isometric view, but there's like, it's heavily puzzle based. And yeah, the environment, pushing things, platforming is like front and center kind of in this game, which normally in this genre it shouldn't be, and it isn't.
Well, okay, so one of the places where this deviates from Diablo is almost entirely combat, right? Like that is what
Absolutely.
you're doing, floor to floor, room to room.
Completely.
Here,
Right.
you've got rooms that are combat, and so when you go in, there's an audio cue, which it's pretty obvious, but it's like, I don't, what does it say? Clear the room or fight everybody?
It's a
Something
voice.
like that. Yeah, it's a voice. But that's rare compared to what you're primarily doing, which is puzzles. So like, yeah, this is an action adventure game, but you could argue that this is an action puzzle game or something, because that's what you're doing room to room.
I did not expect that either.
It's gonna remind you of Diablo in some ways, but it's also gonna remind you of Zelda in some ways, or of Landstalker in some way. It's like it's a little bit of a couple of different kinds of games sort of all mixed in at the same time. And I don't mind that. I don't mind when developers sort of blur some genres and try pulling elements of things into a game, as long as they can make that work and let it be cohesive. I'm not against that concept, at least.
You have a couple of combat methods in this game. The main one being, I would argue the main one being just melee. You are equipped with a sword. And so that's the Zelda side of it too, where you're just kind of hacking and slashing. Another one is the magic system, of course. In a game like this, they're going to have some sort of magic, but they got kind of experimental with this too, in the way that it's not simply, I don't know, go buy a spell or learn a spell of like fireball or heal or something like that. There's mechanics at play where you're combining elements and creating abilities that way, which I kind of can get behind. That sounds sick to me.
Actually love that.
Did you like it
one
here?
of my favorite things about this game.
Okay.
Okay. You don't act surprised. This is Treasure. They have one gimmick, and it's combining abilities. They've done this in so many games. Gunstar Heroes, think about it. You get all those different ones, and then you choose two, and then it makes a third. Like that.
I've never noticed that pattern between your games.
Treasure does this in almost every one of their games.
It's a gimmick, though. It's a gimmick that works for me, though. I just wish they'd taken it a step further here. I wish there had been 5 things to mix instead of 4. and that they had like taught you that like overtly, and that then maybe some of those skills actually had world interactions for like how you puzzled, because we'll talk about the puzzling overtly, but a lot of it felt very one note to me. If I have to move and blow up a barrel one more time, like it's too soon.
Well, let's talk about the magic though before we go.
Yeah.
So you have 4 elements, right? Like air, earth, fire, wind. Maybe those are what they are, and they each do something on their own, and you pick it up, and then you have 10 to use or whatever.
And they're
10
right.
fire.
They're consumables. You pick up the item,
which is so
and then
weird.
when you cast a spell. It consumes one of those items.
But then you go into your menu and you can choose any combination. So you can choose any 2, any 3, or you can choose all 4, and that creates a new elemental ability, that
a different spell.
Yeah, so like for example, you can combine air, earth, and water, and it turns undead. So you can use that and instantly kill any undead enemy in the room.
And then there's like simpler ones of just like air. I think air and earth. Maybe it's fire. It creates like thunder, like lightning effects.
Air and earth, I think, does that barrier around you. Air and something else heals. But yeah, there's one that's like a comet, so it's fire and something else, and it like
I think fire and earth and maybe one.
What's
other
cool about this, and I'll agree with Kenny. I think it's ambitious, and I think it is really cool. There's utility to it and offensiveness to it, and it could have just been simply offensive projectiles or just different things that hurt enemies. But I love the barrier thing. I love the utility of this because, I don't know, it encourages the player to experiment. And Genesis era action RPGs, a lot of them didn't have the room to allow the player to experiment much. You just told them what the item did and you use it.
You've got certain spells that are way more effective against certain enemies, certain skills that are especially effective in certain situations. You're going to have to discover some of that, though, and you get to just sort of mix and match and figure them out. Now, this wasn't something that the game did a very good job of teaching. I wish that had been handled differently.
You mean of telling you that it's there?
Yeah.
Well, because I think it answered, like, what I really appreciate is that you don't have to experiment, meaning you don't have to waste your, any of your elements. All you do is combine them in the menu, and it tells you what the ability is.
That's a good point.
Sure, which is nice. But again, I wish that there were even more of them, and I wish that they had more outside of combat, or kind of like just more interesting
some NPC
implications for the gameplay.
Almost zero NPCs are important, and so you could have easily had the princess tell you at the beginning, or like somebody. Or a wizard, like a wizard.
Yeah, there's a number of ways.
Can you push them off the ledge? They're not going to tell them anything.
Right. That's your fault for bullying everybody.
It's my fault that they don't trust us.
You know what it reminds me of, this mechanic? There's this mobile game that is old at this point, but I forgot what it's called, but you combine elements. You start with like water and oxygen, and you combine it and it makes like steam, and then like
you're thinking Minecraft.
No, it's like little icons. It's just it's a square and they're little icons.
Oh, and that's all you do, huh? Yeah.
That's literally all you do. You can make an iPhone,
and then you end up building really like complex.
Well, but I've seen people speed run to like I don't know, like plane or something.
Yeah, I love
ridiculous.
that. I think that's so funny. So it kind of reminded me of that, but man, 95 for. I just appreciate the fact that an action RPG game like this on the Genesis has a mechanic to engage with. This could have very simply been, you have a sword, you find keys, and maybe you have some sort of magical projectile. But this is something to latch onto, and I got to appreciate it.
But I'm going to add a third thing. Kenny had two. I'll add a third thing that I think is kind of frustrating about it. And I didn't finish the game, so I'm maybe... But I don't think so. Maybe I haven't gotten there yet. But again, I don't think so. I don't think that any out of... you're able to make all those combinations. So you've got, 25, I don't know, 20 different magical abilities, and none of them are used in the puzzling.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Right.
That only making them combat centric when the majority of the things that you're doing is puzzle solving. You could have easily made sure that we were equipped with the certain elements before we got to a room, and then had a puzzle that needed to be solved by combining some of the elements and using levitate. That's not an ability, but if you would have added Kenny's fifth, then you could have had levitate.
Like a chaos element, yeah.
I agree, and I think it wowould have been much better. I think there are some practical reasons they may have avoided that.
I thought so too, but
because like some of the puzzles, the way, because these puzzles can be soft locked. You can get a puzzle wrong,
walk out, walk back
in, and have to walk out and walk back in. The problem is if you have to have spells to be able to do the puzzle, you then have an unlimited source of spells. That's kind of gimmicky, and that would be a hard thing to balance around when you're trying to keep that to be a limited resource.
Because they're drops.
But you do want to be able to make them solve it. So, like, it's tricky. Or maybe it gives you exactly the right... you leave the room and they get taken back out of your inventory. There's ways to answer it, but I'm with you.
Or lock you in. I mean, give you the elements, lock you in.
Right. It made it feel like these are separate parts of the game. Like, it wasn't cohesive because you're not using those systems across the different kinds of things that you're doing.
I think I agree with you, Dustin, and I think on a different, more like a newer console, maybe that room would have been there. But yeah, they would run into so many like logistical problems of balance because of how they chose to give you these items. And let's be real, like Kenny, you said that your you would not be able to solve some of these puzzles. I think you're lying. These puzzles aren't like crazy complex. There's a lot
There's a few that were trickier than I expected them to be.
It's like put something on a switch to weigh it down.
No, but then some of them are like weirdly obtuse. You got to figure them out, but you don't really know what you're figuring out.
Like what? These puzzles were baby food to me.
I don't know. I actually, and this may be a silly one because I felt like I was trying to solve it in the way that ended up being solved. So maybe this is more of a gameplay jank than a puzzle design jank. But we get to the end of the very first dungeon. I kill the dragon. Awesome. I've got this guy swinging around by his feet. All I got to do is save his life. I couldn't cut him down.
Yo, this is not even a puzzle room.
Absolutely is.
That's
You
not
gotta,
a puzzle
figure
room.
out how to get to the corner to jump up so that you can be high enough up to cut him down.
That's not
There are 3 different sized pillars in the room,
That's
and you
an
jump from
acrobatics
small
check.
to medium to large. What? That's the easiest puzzle there is.
It's a very basic puzzle, but then the
Getting the angle is what's jank.
getting
That's
it right
isometric.
to be able to kill it.
Yes.
Right.
They had
But
cankles.
regardless, I felt like, I feel like there's supposed to be something else going on here, and I don't know what it is.
No.
And so I had to go look it up, and I was just an idiot. It was simple. Yes, most of them are relatively straightforward. There were a few puzzles, though, that I'd go in, and I'd be like, oh, this is easy, and I'd get halfway through it, and I'd be like, well, I screwed that up.
Sure.
And have to redo it
But
3 or 4 or 5 different times.
But the majority of the time that I'm redoing puzzles is simply because I wasn't being able to get down the isometric movement right. So like
Right.
I
That-
couldn't
the
jump right or
platforming,
move the
dude.
barrel like
Which is maybe why they were careful about magical interactions. If they had given you the spell move barrel, 80% of this game would have ceased to exist and it would have sped run itself, because all of the puzzles
moving the
felt like
exploding
all
barrel.
you're doing is moving these stupid exploding barrels to go unlock a door. I know that's not all of them, but I just wish there was more variety in the puzzles here.
You can get a lot of items. Your inventory is like a freaking massive.
It is.
And
But
it
it's all
seems
food.
unnecessary. It's
It
mostly
is-
cheese and bread or whatever. Like, but you find weapons and you find armor pieces,
Well,
and I like the RPG side of that. But there's not much use. There, I mean,
Well, no. Maybe you were using them because that's the thing that is so unique here that I think works for a game like this or Diablo. There's an it's auto use. You can use them, but there is an auto use function in this game where, like, when your health gets too low, without you doing anything, your character will consume something from your inventory.
Right. And that is the default, which is nice. I think it's the way that the game was designed to be played, and I would recommend that people leave it on.
Yeah.
I think it does work well here.
Can you toggle it off?
Unless you're trying to be a weird purist or like min-max something or do some kind of challenge mode, like it's helpful. But it is a kind of strange mechanic, and again, one that like at first isn't very clear that it's happening. And I could see someone who was trying to like save important food for a big fight and then ends up using it on another fight, being a little frustrated with the mechanic.
But it gives you so much. Like, I never
The-
ran
lots.
dry.
The utility is very nice, and it does make what would be otherwise a occasionally difficult game feel, for the most part, pretty trivial.
I was more referring to the non-consumables, like this sword. Like, you can find like different swords, and I think it just does damage changes.
Yeah. What? And I love being able to find new swords and new armor and equipment and stuff like that. But no, that's great. But the reason why you're shrugging, Kenny, is because they did it so sparingly. Like, you only get a new sword per level, and there's only 6 levels. So, like, it's so rare to find a new upgrade.
And they didn't feel that wildly different.
I agree.
That's
They
what I'm
didn't
saying.
feel like
If,
you're
if
increasing
one of
in power.
them hit harder but was shorter, or one of them was a longer range, or one of
flail,
them, right, or one of them worked against certain enemies but not other. Like, there are ways to make it interesting, or just straight up give you a power spike and then also give you harder enemies.
I might be asking
but
for
like,
too much with
now
that.
I can kill the easy stuff quickly. It was very incremental, and so you did get these upgrades, and that's fun, and they did a good job of scattering them throughout, but then also giving you the option to do some purchasing there. But like, they didn't feel. I never got an item and was like stoked.
Too sparse, yeah.
Yeah.
There are bosses.
Yeah, and I think that's another big focus of this game, because when you go isometric, you can do these big chunky bosses, and I think that's the way to do them. The first one is this disturbing mound with holes, and an eye comes out, and thankfully Kenny found out you have to hit the eye. But the second one is this
Long-necked
big
dragon.
fiery dragon. I hated them.
Because you couldn't hit them the way you wanted to because of the isometric view. Yeah.
It's just jank. And then so you have to figure out a spot you can stand that the enemy can't hit, that you can.
In fairness, it's not just the bosses that are janky.
Oh,
sure.
You're going to have a little bit of a hard time knowing where you're standing, where you're about to jump, who you can cut down off the ceiling and how.
The hardest puzzle in the game.
Hard,
exactly.
That's not
It's not a puzzle.
Any number of things are going to feel a little awkward here. Now, as you do more of it, you're going to get a sense of how I can push items around and where to stand on them to really get them to move, and be able to do some like move the barrel across the moving platform.
You keep
sort
talking
of
about barrels.
I hated the freaking
There
barrels.
are a lot
I don't
of
know if
barrels
that's
to be
clear or
fair in
not.
the first part of the game.
More than there are bosses for sure.
But like, I don't know. I was ranting about something. But I don't even know.
I think you just wanted to say barrel.
I think
I just wanted to say barrel a few more times.
I agree. The isometric view I like here. I just think that they needed some sort of auto targeting kind of mechanic or something that would help. Like if you're near the eye in that boss, that you'd hit it. You don't need to like get pixel perfect angle in order to like make progress. But that's pretty much what this game is.
I have a question, and I think the answer is going to prove something right for me. Was there a standout puzzle for you? And if so, what was it?
No.
Exactly. My point.
I
my
like
point.
the bombardment of puzzles. I
Zelda
think that's
Boy.
well.
Yeah,
but-
bring on a lot of them.
Sure.
I'm okay with that idea.
Sure.
But this was way more than Zelda even, because
Yes.
Zelda's a lot more key. Like you find the key, you progress, you do some puzzles here and there, but like this one's like every room is a new puzzle to solve.
Right, or the dungeon itself is the puzzle.
And I think that's
this was a lot
awesome.
more isolated sort of puzzles within a room.
I think that's awesome. But Dustin's right. It is Barrel City, and there's nothing to talk about.
They're a little uninspired.
Yeah, and like I never really, again, didn't beat it, but I never really entered a room and was completely at a loss that I needed to try some things or really get experimental. Like it was almost always just obvious. The struggle was not figuring out the intellect behind the puzzle, which that's what a good puzzle is. The difficulty was making the isometric work within the puzzle the majority of the time.
Right.
That's
even if the puzzle isn't that hard, when you're done with it, you should be walking away going, "Oh man, I feel so clever."
Yeah.
something.
You know?
That never happened.
Even if it's a relatively easy puzzle, but it was like unique, or like, "Oh, that was cool. It's fun how they used XYZ," whatever.
Or how
But,
Zelda
like,
uses the little jingle when you do something right. That feels
right.
good.
So rewarding.
There are so many ways to do really, really rewarding puzzles, and y'all know, if you've listened to the show at all, I love a good puzzle. Like I love games that utilize that and utilize it well. But they were uninspired.
Like if they could have taken a note from Breath of the Wild or Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, they should have looked that up.
It
Yeah,
does
that's how
puzzles
that could
better,
work.
is just my argument.
They should have looked that up
Well,
on YouTube.
sure.
Aged.
I have a philosophy philosophy is a very strong word. I have an opinion that I'm curious if y'all agree with. I think this is one of those games that was better when it came out than it is now.
Yes.
Present your argument.
Oh, just a lot of what bugged me about this game was sort of jankiness, quality of life things, the kinds of things that
That's how it was.
I think over time sort of like have improved, and in some of the best and most classic and really well made even retro games aren't there often. But I feel like in 1995 playing through this, it wouldn't have bugged me as much that the puzzles were a little bit one note, and I don't know. I feel like it would have. I feel like it's a worse game now than it was when it came out.
I agree with you.
I might agree some, but I'm just going to argue that isometric platforming should not be a thing.
It should not be a thing.
See,
It shouldn't.
I think you have to be very careful with it. but I'm not opposed.
It shouldn't be a thing. Luckily, the game doesn't force you to do too much, like, oh, if you fall into the pit, you're dead kind of platforming.
Right, that's nice.
That's true.
But you're still having to navigate around barrels and boxes and
And platforms that drop just a centimeter, but makes it where you can't make the next jump.
Yeah, but that's how. I mean, that was in every game in '95. Kenny's kind of right.
But they want isometric. Like, it's choose one or the other. Give us isometric, but don't make us platform, or platform, but not isometric. When you put two together, it's so difficult.
I agree, but let me
say this.
It
can be done, but it is much, much harder to do well. And it's usually a bad idea.
Let me say this. I think that the isometric view of this game is the charm of this game. And I think if it wouldn't have been isometric, we wouldn't be talking about it. I don't think anybody would be talking about it because it would be just like every other left to right platformer, or it would be like a top-down game like Zelda. But the fact that it is this is why people talk about this game.
I'm with you. Take the puzzles out completely and make the combat significantly more interesting and more of it to make up for the lack. And this is a fun little dungeon adventure. Those are two very, very big propositions, though. It's a completely different game.
I think that's a bit too reductive, I think, because I also think the puzzling is too simple. It is too frequent to be this simple. I agree. However, again, I think that's what sets this one apart from another Zelda clone of this time, and there were many. I didn't beat the game either, but I've seen later game puzzling, and it certainly improves. And it certainly does a lot more than the first part of the game. And so, yeah, I don't know if I fully agree with that part. It was better when it came out, yes. And that's all I'll say.
I am telling you that the gothic fantasy vibes
is the best vibe out there.
Not my favorite.
It's the best vibe out there.
It's shocking to me that I enjoyed Symphony of the Night and a few other Castlevania stuff as much as I do, because that's all the way down to the platforming. None of the vibes are the thing that draws me to that game or that series. And here, it's not like it's not Dracula vibes, but it is that kind of like gothic fantasy, but where it's very traditional fantasy. Again, Sir Knight David or whatever, and he's in the most traditional armor. You're fighting goblins, and then the architecture is very like, again, gothic. None of that do I love just in general. And I think it's done okay here, but I think it's it's low-hanging fruit. Like, it's not that creative. They didn't do anything very creative with the environment and the graphics.
That's the best vibe out there.
I think they tried to when they did we're going to have world interactables, and that's what's going to let us do puzzles and whatever. I think that's what they were
impressive.
No. I think that's what they were going for as their unique sort of shtick for the game. But I agree. The vibe, though, for the aesthetic is a little bit canned.
Well, hold on. Dude, wait a darn minute.
Later in this game, it goes full on modern age and then futuristic.
Yeah,
like,
futuristic. I know
they don't
all
stick
video
to
games
that.
do.
They kind of go crazy. I think there's like cars in it later. Like, it's like
cars.
Yeah, no, actually, they go kind of wild.
Which is crazy because it's not a long game. I don't know how they ever get to that.
Exactly. I don't know how it ramps to that, but I'm here for it. I'm sure there's some sort of plot reason that they explain in 2 lines of text. But
it's true because they don't give a ton of story here.
It's no secret you don't like the vibe. I do love that vibe. I think Kenny enjoys it. He's a Diablo boy. I don't know. There's something about the 90s that was... it was alluring because, parents, you can't play that. It's satanic or it's bad. And so it was kind of cool then. Now, I guess that just ingrained in me and I just enjoy it.
I have the same opinion when it comes to the music. I think that it is good for what it is trying to do, but it's that harpsichord heavy gothic fantasy. There is a lot of it. So you've got one for the town, one for dungeon floor 1, one for floor 2.
I appreciated that it changed and there was some variety there. But yeah, my description for the music was passable.
And that Sega sound chip is just not doing it
bad.
any favors.
The sound chip's bad.
It's crunchy.
I'll be the first to admit.
I don't mind a little crunch.
Well, while we're on that topic of the sound chip, there's voice acting in this game. Shouldn't be in the game, but there's voice acting in this game, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's true. There's no need.
It is it sounds like, and this is the best they could do. You take a clip of someone saying something and you compress it like 10 different times, and then you put it through like a muffled filter. It's like, "Hey, Dustin and Kitty." It's really bad.
Because the voice lines took up half of memory, like half of the storage space of this cart. I think music would work for certain people that like that kind of, again, gothic fantasy vibe. But for me, while I appreciate the vastness of it, that there's many different tracks, and none of them were like very bad. Although, man, having to hear that town song over and over again was crazy. It didn't work for me. I don't like. I just don't like that genre of visuals or of the sound.
You like the graphics though.
I don't even know about the detail. I like the thickness of the bosses.
But dude, some of those backdrops.
We know you like them thick.
And they're not even backdrops really, because of the isometric view. Like them pillaring. They look really good.
I'm so torn here because I understand what you're saying, Nolan, and I agree that for the look they were going for, they did a fine job. They sort of delivered. It wasn't my favorite aesthetic, especially from Treasure. I feel like they've done some stuff that is big and bright and a little bit more cartoony and colorful and like vibrant. And I think because they were going for sort of
realism,
there's no colors
realism
under a
here. Yeah, it just feels a little more, a little less sort of like enticing visually. It's not a bad looking game. I think it looks fine. I just don't love the aesthetic personally.
Here, I do appreciate some of the animations, particularly goblins losing their heads and getting cut in half.
That was sick. I also
some of the spells all looking different and doing some really kind of cool stuff. People having shadows underneath them that were sometimes sort of accurate. I don't know. There were things that were like fine.
The best animation is the jump attack. Like you can do this dive.
Oh my gosh.
And you have iframes during it too. It's actually really OP. That is so funny looking. He just goes all the way up in the like a torpedo down. I thought that was hilarious. I like that one.
Yeah, but good luck hitting it again.
Oh yeah, you gotta aim it and hope they don't move. It's rough.
If you want a copy of this game for your Sega Genesis, it's gonna run you $14 used or loose and $70 new.
I'm gonna say that's fair, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad. There's no other games in the series, right? This is just a one and done.
Not that I know of.
Now it has been released like as a part of Genesis Classics.
Yes.
And I think it's even available on Steam right now.
Yep.
And then it was also at one point included, I don't know if originally, but on the Sega Genesis Mini. So many ways to play it today if you don't want to purchase a physical copy for yourself.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Nolan, thoughts on Light Crusader?
Never ever heard of this game. Probably for good reason. I am surprised it's Treasure, just having played their other games. But I love the Genesis, and I love discovering new titles on that console that I've never played, especially in the action-adventure genre. And so the look of this one really drew me in when I Googled it after you announced it last week. And after playing it, all of the frustrations you had, Dustin, I felt for sure. I think that I love the isometric choice. I don't love some of the things they tried to do in that setting. I think that it makes for kind of a frustrating platforming experience, combat experience at times. But I do think you can kind of get the hang of it. I love the magic system in this game. I didn't really want more from it. I would have loved puzzle integration. Puzzles were whatever. Like, I like this game. Okay? I think this game is actually kind of fun. Like, it almost shouldn't be because of the problems we've talked about, but I played a lot more than I wanted to, or than I thought I would this week. And the charm's there for me, and this just works. So I'm giving it New Game Plus.
That's one yes. I'll keep mine relatively short. Elementary puzzles, jank, isometric physics, bad platforming, interesting boss design, bad boss combat design. I cannot disagree that there is a charm to it. There certainly is. But it's for a particular kind of person that likes a particular kind of thing. And I'm not that on almost every part of this game. And so it's certainly no New Game Plus for me. And one of Treasure's worst.
Wow.
That may be true, but if this is their worst, they're pretty good.
Kenny, it's in your hands.
I can appreciate both of y'all's perspectives.
But he's got a third.
But both of you are wrong. No, I side more with Dustin on this one. This one is a no with some regret. I do think charm. I do think I should be a lot of the audience here, but I'm not.
Well, you couldn't cut the guy down. So.
That's where he stopped.
Some interesting things to offer, but frustrations outweighed triumphs for me. There are
I get it.
Some fun moments, some moments of triumph, some interesting things, but I got outjanked, then I got entertained, and the scales didn't tip enough in the other way to get me on board. But Nolan, I get where you're coming from. The vibes, I am actually 100% in your camp.
I could have not guessed differently leading up to this episode. I was confident that Kenny was going to love this weird thing and that Nolan was going to loathe it due to the platforming.
That would have been the more typical guess,
yes.
I think. Maybe it was just... I don't think it was just. They could have done a few things to win me over.
Man.
We had this exact same conversation.
I'm a little shocked too.
Earlier, Dustin, about Dark Souls, where the charm didn't save it for you because the other stuff, it does for me. It outweighs the bad things. And so I liked being under the city, and I don't know.
It's so interesting because like so many of the, hard science things, we all felt the same and agreed on. Yeah. But on the soft science things, the ones that are more like, we fall
more
in
vibes and opinions, and we're in very different camps.
It's crazy
on this
to me, and that means that Light Crusader, a bad name. Do we all agree on that? Hard science?
No.
Whoa!
It's fine.
It's a fine name. It's a little uninspired.
It should have been called Sir David.
Light Crusader is not New Game Plus certified, which might be a record that we're on right now of no New Game Plus.
Also starting
in a row,
the pool party with a no. Yeah, I'm nervous.
On our YouTube poll, 16% said yes, it's worth playing today. 5% said no, go play something else. And 79% have never played this Treasure title before. It's got to be one of the lesser known Treasure titles, right?
Absolutely. No one knows this is Treasure. Come on.
We had many from our community play along with us and write in. Sasser said, Light Crusader is a game with a fair amount of ambition and a development time of about 6 weeks too short. The combat system was fairly novel with item-based mix and match magic spells. Aside from that, a lot was missing. You free villagers throughout the dungeon, but almost none of them provide any purpose to the story or otherwise benefit the player. Some dungeon areas are sparse and serve no purpose other than just to pass through. Combat on this early isometric environment is very janky with inconsistent strike boxes. Despite all of this, what the game does, it does quite well. The dungeon backgrounds and level styles are varied, the music is on point and differs on each floor, and the puzzles are, well, put together for an isometric feel. Despite the myriad flaws, I played this game to completion and mostly enjoyed the journey. If you're a fan of puzzle dungeons and are not put off by the awkward sword swings, Light Crusader might be worth picking up.
I think it gets better.
That's a fair summary.
Later in the game, a lot better. I'm pretty sure.
When you go into the Wild Wild West?
Yeah, when a cowboy shoots you, like, okay.
Sin Doctor, I think you fight a tank at some point, like an army.
I saw
tank.
that. Yeah.
Okay, well now I'm intrigued.
No, now it's going worse for me.
No, like actual tank, Kenny. Like,
yeah, I know.
It's.
With your sword.
I might have to finish this game now, even though I don't want to.
Sin Doctor said, I gotta say, something about the look of this game just pulled me in. This is one I had never so much as heard of, so my expectations were quite a bit low. But hearing the treasure developed it perked my ears up. The combat is pretty busted, and the magic is incredibly OP. The puzzles, although kind of cool, proto-Ocarina of Time, move this thing over here ideas, usually end up being the kinds of things where you can see what to do, but actually executing it is excruciating. The music was relatively unremarkable, but it had its moments, so why did I enjoy this one so much? I honestly can't really tell you, but something about the culmination of this into the dark fantasy setting did it for me. I give this NGP to my own surprise.
Exactly.
Okay.
We
found a Nolan
really
in the
well
wild.
said.
It's so
Really well said.
weird. Garlisle said, objectively speaking, this game is garbage.
Well,
the scenario, but hold on. The scenario lacks anything even resembling creativity. Its puzzle sections are far too easily screwed up by the slippery controls, and the combat hit detection and design is so fundamentally broken, it's only really made playable via the generous auto-healing. And yet, this might be the most fun I've had with the Genesis game since joining the cast.
What?
Wow.
Wow. That took the biggest turn that I
know. Left.
Listen to the next line. I can't even explain it. The physics might be held together with duct tape, but seeing some of that 3D tech running at full speed on the Genesis was tech wizardry. The combat of magic was so abusable, it wrapped back around to fun. Delving a single dungeon is a very old school D&D style feel, especially with each floor revealing its own unique little designs, and yeah, maybe it's just the right kind of jank for me.
Dude, crazy.
It's so funny that everyone is like jank.
Oh, everyone's like, this kind of sucks.
What people do
I
with
love
it,
it.
is so different. It's
wow.
it's very unique.
It's that
Most
dog
fun
at
on
the shelter
Genesis.
that like its hair is up everywhere, it's missing a foot. The people are like, hey, it can't be near electricity, and you've got to feed it 12 times a day, and it's gonna use the bathroom everywhere, so wear a diaper.
But he's ours.
But you're gonna love it. Like, I mean, it's All right, one more commentary from the one that submitted this game in the first place.
Okay.
It is Keeks said, so I own a physical copy of this game solely because it was developed by Treasure. I admit, before this week, I hadn't played this game.
That's interesting.
In hopes that we would have a hidden gem for the pool, I offered it up to the pool party.
So
Light
risky.
Crusader is jank. I do love the environment art. The enemy bosses look cool. However, the hit detection in this game is its greatest flaw. That includes item/shop keeps that can drive you mad with the constant pop-up dialogue boxes.
So true.
With all these flaws, however, I had some good fun with this dumb game.
Yeah, I
That's so
forgot how
funny.
much I got mad the first time I went into a shop. And the pop-ups and the how you do the selling, that's a fair complaint.
But
It's
what made
so
it better
risky.
is that a cat was trying to sell items to you at
Yeah.
one point. So.
Yeah,
It's
it
so
was.
risky to suggest a game for a pool party that you've never played in hopes that it's good. That's wild.
Blind date submission based on the developer. I love that, and it made for a really interesting episode.
And
I like it.
Probably made for some really angry patrons, because there's some people that have some love for some games that
Their
have been
whole
submitting them
life,
for a long time.
Yeah.
And Cakes is like, hey, I've never played this one, but
let's give it a shot.
I respect you for it.
I like where he's coming from.
I respect you. But we are setting aside Light Crusader, and we are randomly selecting the game that we'll be playing for the next 7 days. Remember, for the summer pool party, it's every other week. So, Tuesday of this week.
But the in-between games matter. The randomizer ones matter.
But last year, we had strong almost all the way through. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
This summer, we've started with a no new game plus status. Let's see what the randomizer has in store for us now. This is a 2002 party game.
Okay. Oh, man. Is it really
I feel
happening?
like both of those, are words for Nolan. I don't know that either of those are words for me.
If this is what I think it is, this is way too convenient.
Do you know why the last part of that party game is applicable to you? Because we're actually going to be recording this episode live together. So maybe we can party together.
Right, and last year we did as well. Year before last.
Should we record content all go into a club together this week?
We should. I'm ready.
You wouldn't be able to hear us.
It was published by a just being so loud about us talking. Published by Acclaim. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
You threw me for that. I don't know.
That could be fine. Yeah, that could be a good thing.
Released for the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Multiple consoles.
Yeah, depending, that could be fine.
It's usually bad.
Final installment in its franchise.
Ooh, that's kind of a bad sign, actually.
What?
It is.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, what is this?
It could be, Kenny, if the franchise wasn't, I don't know, at least maybe 8 to 10 games.
Huh.
Still don't think it's a great sign, but at least the franchise has
That's
some
a good
legs.
run.
It's a long title, so hear me out completely, all right?
What is this going to be? Go.
I'm listening.
And it's the second one that we played on the podcast.
Okay.
From the series.
Oh, it is?
Oh, interesting.
All right, here we go.
I don't like that.
Sit back.
All right.
Hold on to your butts.
Okay.
Starting the title of the game now.
I'm going to kill you.
Mary Kate and Ashley, Sweet 16, licensed to drive.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I hate
You got me so
this.
good. I thought it was going to be something for real.
I know.
Whoa. Dude, we're going to be in person playing a Mary Kate and Ashley game.
Why are you excited?
Because
this is
that's
really
so
bad.
sick.
Although I kind of loved that first one that we played.
I did Magical Mystery Mall. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's actually a good party game and this is the weird hidden gem, and it's
There's
just
no
like
way.
if couch co-op becomes a sleepover spectacular
Hold on.
because of the vibes, I'm not opposed.
So we're really at this point in life where I'm about to fly over to y'all so that we can get together on a couch and play a Mary Kate and Ashley video.
What's it called? Say the whole thing.
Apparently.
Mary Kate and Ashley Sweet 16 licensed to drive. It's got 2 subtitles.
Wait, is it a kart
Sweet
racer?
16.
Licensed
There's
to
no.
drive?
She's 16. Is it a kart racer?
Is it a kart racer?
Is it a kart racer? It just says party video game.
Throwing a banana at Mary as Kate?
Listen,
Hold on, no,
if
no,
it's
no.
a
I mean,
party-
Ashley?
If it's a party, it's a party.
Okay,
That's how it
players
works.
can control one of 4 characters.
Mary Kate, Ashley, and their parents.
No, and Tiffany or Claire. And players can choose between 2 regions, beach or mountain. And
Yes.
the 3 game modes are adventure, bring it on, and arcade.
Okay.
Oh, I'm blue. Bring it on.
Bring it on, Tiffany. I'm there.
Bring it on, Tiffany.
In the kitchen with the candlestick? All right, find a copy.
Oh no.
All of you need what's even crazier, I guess the craziest is that I'm flying to play this game.
Say
with
the
y'all,
whole
but
title again.
What's also crazy is that there are going to be many people that this week are going to be downloading this video game to be able to play with us. That's crazy.
Well, it's also crazy that some people are going to tune into our mini streams for the first time and see us playing a Mary Kate and Ashley game as old men.
But what's crazy
is
that the majority of the people that are going to be playing with us are men that are probably 25 and above.
It's creepy, for sure.
Oh, it's creepy.
It's creepy.
It's creepy. Find a copy of Mary Kate and Ashley, Sweet 16, M dash license to drive, and played along with us this week.
M dash. Join our Discord server. Listen, the week of Couch Co-op is lit. That's known. But it's also a good place to get notifications of when we go live, when a video goes up, and to just chat with some cool people. So go to discord.gg/newgameplus /Mary Kate /Ashley.
/Olsen.twins. I want to say thank you to those of you who support us on patreon.com, including Mark, who is our latest patron. Thank you, Mark, for joining in with your support. Thank you to our director level supporters who go truly above and beyond. Brojim, Super Hypered, Siegfried. You guys are the best. To our many producer level supporters, including Alex, Alias X, Marley and Antonin, Arlen, Yuki, Ben, Craig, Dustin's 5 o'clock, Shadow, Garlisle, Hallex, Harold, Hey Brother, Jay Robert, Jake Jordan, Joey Justified, Justin, Clem, Levi, Maximum, Megatroid, Miss Muso, Not Enough Dog, Sage and Shades, Shauna, Snake Matic, I Thought I Could Make It, Stephen Fox, Psycho Mantis, Thomas Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Reminder that you can get a free sneak peek of what it's like to be a patron, to be an insider on the show as we do Couch Co-op this week. So hop online, check out more. It literally costs you $0. And we'd love to have you come and be a part of that.
You can find us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Make sure you listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice and subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. While you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our episode artwork was created by our friend Dave. Video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Mary Kate and Ashley, Sweet 16, Licensed to Drive. And is that a James Bond?
Yeah.
Okay, reference.
Yeah, it's a reference.
Sick reference.
Hate it. Until then, I'm still Sir David.
I'm still pushing people onto a tower of people.
I'm Mary Kate.
No, be like Trina or the other girl, or
Who's
I don't know.
Trina?
Trina.
And this has been New Game Plus.